Hi, it's Joseph, and today I'm in the Allende Institute. And I thought I'd give you a little Reader's Digest version of this mural that describes the history of Mexico. So let's come all the way back to the left, because of course you go from left to right, and talk about some of the images. So, as you can see, the mural starts off with, of course, the conquistadors. And they come in and conquer the indigenous. And it even goes all the way back to the gentleman here, the blonde that you see there to your left, is Cortez. And behind him is his girlfriend, La Malinchine, that helped translate for him and help him, help Spain overtake Mexico. She's a controversial figure. Some people feel that since she portrayed the indigenous, her own people, she's a traitor, whereas others, more feminist point of view in today's world is she was a woman with a career, and she gave birth to the first mixed-race baby here in Mexico and should be honored for that reason. Let's see. Of course, down here, the bottom left, we see more of the conquistadors attacking. Oh, let's go way up high. In the upper left-hand corner there, there she is Sir Juana in the upper left-hand side of the screen. She was an early feminist back in the 1600s. You'll find her in the older 200 peso note. And if you magnify the book behind her, what she's writing about is God help the men who underestimate the intelligence of women. Let's come on over to the right some more. And again, it's mostly focused on the Spanish coming and taking over the indigenous culture that was here. Let's come on over into the center, and here we've got some interesting people. The gentleman with the flag of Guadalupe, the mother of Mexico, was Father Hidalgo. It was very important for the insurgents to have a Mary on their side and a priest on their side. So folks knew it was a war against Spain, not a war against the church. And they chose Father Hidalgo. He was a very forward-thinking. He taught the indigenous how to make that multicolored pottery we still see for sale here in town. That, of course, was illegal because the indigenous were meant to serve the Spanish. They weren't meant to have their own skill set. He had 7 children to 3 local Otomi women. Otomi were the indigenous farmers here in town. And he ran in to the church in Atotonilco, grabbed that flag of Guadalupe, and proclaims their freedom from Mexico in the speech I'm sure you've heard parts of about Viva Mexico, Viva la Revolution. Of course, in the center, way up high above Ignacio Allende, is a feathered serpent, the highest deity for the indigenous. And then there's, of course, Ignacio Allende, the founding father of Mexico, who our town is now named for. It's unusual that the horse has 2 hoofs up, because that usually indicates he died in battle, whereas he was actually captured in battle and beheaded afterwards. Underneath them, down here in the middle, there's St. Michael, for whom the town is named. When the Spanish first got here, they went to war against the Chichimecas, the indigenous hunter-gatherers. And how the whole thing ended, the Battle of the Barbarians back in 1532, was a giant cross appeared in our southern mountain range. Now, you were a conquistador, you were Spanish and Catholic. You see a huge cross in the sky, they stop fighting because God's apparently on their side. But for the indigenous, any intersection of two lines represented the meeting of male and female, which for them meant the divine, which meant God was on their side, and they stopped fighting also. All this happened on the feast day of St. Michael, and that's why we're called San Miguel. Originally, we were San Miguel de los Chichimecas, and then in today's world, we're San Miguel de Allende for the founding father of Mexico, the man on the horse right above. Little naming trivia for you, we're the first city in Mexico to not be built on an indigenous site. So we're the first city in Mexico to have a Spanish name, San Miguel. Originally, it was San Miguel de los Chichimecas, and today's world, we're San Miguel de Allende. Michael's an archangel, and what makes archangels unique is they were created to be angels. They were never humans before that. Because he was never human, he has no male genitalia. He'd have no need for it. He was never human. That's why in art like this that you'll see all over town, he's always big and strong, because as you see here, he kicks the devil out of heaven. But if you look closely, he never has a beard, he never has body hair, he's got creamy skin and a sense of style and fashion. And that's why in the Christmas plays we just had, where he's a character, he's portrayed by local teenage girls because they've got the best hair in town. Now, the woman you see here, both to the left and the right, that's Josefa. She was the wife of the mayor of Querétaro that fought inside of the Mexicans. You see her often like this twice in art because she's the only one of the insurgents to live to see it at the end. So she's showing a map of Mexico before and after. And like I said, that's why she's always double, because she actually lived to see the end. As we pan along to the right, oh, lots of folks and Mexican history. Let's see there. Up above, you can see the woman giving birth and Frida with her paintbrush and the different rights for women. The young men here, the 5 of them that are wrapped up in a flag because they jumped off the castle wall in Mexico City, wrapped in the Mexican flag rather than give up and admit defeat. A lot of the elementary schools here in town are named for these 5 heroes. Let's pan over a little more. Let's see who we have here. Oh, some of the Mexican customs, oil, when oil became a Mexican industry owned by the government here. A little bit on the different fruits and vegetables that we grow in Mexico. If you cross over to the Common Fort side across the mountain range behind La Comer, that's a different ecosystem than ours. We have the root vegetables, a lot of the corn and broccoli and asparagus, whereas that side has the citrus fruits. Who else do we have here? And of course it all ends with the children, since the children are the future of Mexico. Let me pan around here and I'll show you the fountain. That's here in the town's Instituto Allende Square, often surrounded by flowers for different weddings and whatnot. But let's take a walk just a little farther down, and we'll take Pepe with us. Right, Pepe? Oh, who's a good boy? You're a good boy. Because my name is Joseph, his name is Pepe, because Pepe comes from the 2 words in Old Spanish for adopted father, and abbreviated by Pepe. And since St. Joseph was Jesus' adopted father, Pepe in English is Joe. Here we are, the old chapel. Let's see if we can put the phone around the bar so you can see a little better. So originally, this whole building was a summer home for the Canal family that had their big red home in the town square, what's now part of a bank. And then down the street, when city life got too much for them, they could come to their country place. And this was the chapel within their country home. Canal family sold it to an order of nuns who were going to convert it into a monastery for them. But when they started doing remodeling in the 1820s and 1810 is when the revolution against Mexico started. So they never really finished it. They later sold it to the Allende Institute, which was a college back in 1959 for teaching arts. That's there's still a small subset of. And that wooden, what we call bureau cabinet to your left there, according to what I've read, still holds the paperwork from when it was sold to the nuns. Up there on the right, you can see an image. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit. Nope. Of a nun with a crown of flowers. Those were called flower crown nuns. Those pictures, those paintings were done when it was a wealthy woman and she took her final vows. And the crown copy is what the indigenous made for their gods. The baby Jesus that she holds represents all the babies she's not going to have. And then underneath it is a little family tree history of who she's the child of, who are her parents and whatnot. They were then sent over to Spain. It was used for advertisements because Mexico was advertised as the new Eden. And the cloistered nuns, the flower with the flowered crowns on, were considered the flowers of this new Eden. The other interesting thing is way up high here, you can see a very indigenous looking Jesus with the dark skin to be more acceptable to the indigenous because he would look like them. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and have a great new year.